This is Carl Polachuk, and you're listening to the SMB Community Podcast, produced by and for the Small Biz Thoughts community. We're dedicated to making every IT professional a successful IT professional.
All right, welcome everybody. This is James Kernan from Kernan Consulting, and welcome to the SMB Community Podcast. Today I've got a special guest, a great friend, a longtime customer, and fellow business coach, Tim Taylor. Tim, welcome to the podcast.
James, how are you?
Doing great. Beautiful morning here in the Midwest, so can't complain about that. But we're certainly facing some unique challenges nowadays, huh?
Yeah, it really is. This COVID-19 is really affecting all of us. So broadcasting from the home office today. Exactly. I'm trying to do my part.
There you go. Good. Well, thanks for joining, Tim. I was excited to get you on the podcast and let the listeners learn a little bit more about you and your background. You know, you've got a very unique background. Obviously, you've been highly successful, and you've got a couple businesses going now. So, tell me a little bit, or let everybody know, how did you get into the business? What did that look like, and when was that?
All right. Well, I've been in IT my whole career, like 30 plus years. And I started out, honestly, you know, I'm a little older maybe than a few of you that might be listening, back in the early 80s, before the PC was even invented. I was in college and was programming on mainframes, learning that in college. And when I wrote my first program, my first business class, I knew immediately that's what I wanted to do. I mean, I just really ate it up. I remember one of my professors giving a special credit problem to the all his classes, and if you could get that, you get a certain number of points added onto your final grade. And I went over to the computer center at the school. You know, there were no home computers back then, and I got there when it opened at like 8 in the morning, and I left at 2 in the morning when it closed. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember eating, going to the bathroom, anything. I literally just worked on that program, and I was like one of the only people out of all his classes to get it right. So it just turned into immediate passion. But I worked in the nonprofit world right out of college for a number of years. Again, came in as a mainframe programmer. The PC was just getting invented, and somebody said, "Hey, who can install a PC in the president's office, a word processor?" I said, "Well, I know a little bit about them. I can do that." And then somebody else wanted one, and suddenly I became the microcomputer department. And within 10 years of installing that first PC, we downsized off our mainframe and ran everything on PCs. Wow. I'd installed about 2,000 machines during that 10 years, and, you know, multi-generations of machines. But
sure.
The whole headquarters there moved to Florida. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to ask, where were you at that time?
I was in Southern California, near San Bernardino area.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. And the organization I was with, they moved to Florida in 1991. So I moved with them. I had to move all of the computers. I had to orchestrate moving all the PCs. We still had a mainframe back then. And then around 94, the decision was made to downsize off the mainframe and rewrite everything to run on PC networks, since they were, you know, now becoming a viable force. Right. So built the network up to, you know, 600, 700, 800 machines. But I've always been in networking. I enjoyed.
When did you get down to Florida?
91. Landed in Orlando in 91. It was a lot of fun. The summer the whole organization moved, I had to sell a house in California, buy a house in Florida, move 400 or 500 computers. We had a baby right in the middle of the move. Wow. That was a lot of fun. The summer of 1991, I never want to repeat, but we survived it. And I was with that organization until 97. In 1998, I went to work for a small IT company, just, you know, long before managed services, things like that were around. And the guy gave me a desk and a phone and was keeping everything I brought in, basically. So I said, you know what, I can do this myself. So I started my own company out of the trunk of my car in 1999 by myself. I was 40 years old. I had 3 kids. I had a mortgage. Yeah. I had 2 car payments, and I had $500 in the bank. And I said, I'm going to make this happen, or I'm going to die trying. Yeah. And I had to make it work. You know, when you're, I think you succeed the most, everybody does, when your back's against the wall and you have to make it work. I borrowed a few $1,000s from my best friend back in Tennessee. He said, you can pay me back in a year, and I paid him back in 6 months, and never looked back. Today we're 15 employees, and we're maintaining, you know, 2,000 machines or so out there. We're a full managed service provider, And I've grown up in the industry, so I've done literally everything except designing websites. I've literally done everything you can do in this business.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, congratulations. I've known you for a long time and have seen the success that you've created there with TaylorWorks. So that's fantastic. So tell me a little bit more. What else are you doing? I know you authored a book. Tell us about the book.
Yeah, well, when I started my company in '99, I looked for a book. Literally, before I started the company, I looked for a book, how to start and run a successful IT company. Managed services wasn't really around back then, and I couldn't find it. And I finally found a book on starting a computer store. It was all I could find. And I said, this is a needed resource. Somebody needs to write this book.
Right.
So literally, I didn't have time for it, honestly, as my company was doubling in size every few years. And so I finally sat down around 2011 and just kind of wrote down the chapters. I think this is what a person needs to know if they want to do this. And I didn't really get earnestly started on it until around 2014. And by end of 2016, I had it written and got it edited and put it out there. So I wrote How to Start and Run a Successful IT Company. It's up on Amazon now. And then I saw a real need for, everybody needs a good coach, and especially guys just getting started.
Right.
They just don't know what to do. And they need someone kind of, look, this is the most important thing you need to do, and kind of holding them accountable to get that done. So I started Tim Taylor Consulting Group. And basically, I like working with startups, people that are just getting started, that have under $1 million a year in revenue. Like, what is a PSA? What is this? What is that? What should I buy? How should I do it? And I tell people, listen, I've made every mistake you can make in this business, from not charging enough to hiring bad employees. And I want to keep you from doing the same things I did. And
Right.
So let me work with you and help you navigate this world, and you can build a successful practice. So that's what I've helped a number of people do.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah, I've read the book. It's fantastic. And you mentioned there really isn't anything like that out there. I mean, there are very, very few books that really will, there's slivers of knowledge that's out there on books, right? On selling and marketing and building a managed service practice or cloud practice. But there's not anything about getting your business started in this industry. And it's, if you had it to do all over again, would you do it?
I would do it. Absolutely. I think a lot of people that have an entrepreneurial mind, they've at least got to try.
Yeah.
And I just had this problem with putting in all this effort and seeing my boss get all the money. And I just couldn't quite do that anymore. And one of the things with the nonprofit I was with, I raised money sometimes, but that money was kind of covering my salary. So if I raised it, I got it. And I couldn't quite get used to, all right, I'm doing all this work, but somebody else is getting it. And so I was like, no, that's not going to work for me. So I just went out there and did it on my own. And you go through tough times. We went through the big recession in 2008. And what that did just slowed our growth quite a bit. We were just kind of we leveled off, and then things took off again. And since 2015, we've doubled in size. So, nothing that you get paid a good salary at or make good money is going to be easy. But if you know how to do the work and you know how to do the IT work, there's just no reason why you can't do it. You want to do the work yourself, do everything yourself at the beginning, so you learn how to do everything. So if you're managing somebody later that's doing it, you know what they're doing and you know if they're doing it right. But I've seen a few small guys, they can just get started and they hire people to go out in the field and do all the stuff for them. Well, that eats up all your profit. I said, no, you need to be out there in the field. Just forward your phone to your cell phone, or make your cell phone your main number. I mean, I was helping people over the phone and doing billable time, and I would get billable time in between appointments. And that's the kind of mindset. I literally had a laptop mounted in my car. Remember the old PC MCIA cards? You slid in the laptop, had a little antenna on it. I would literally get an internet connection the minute I got in the car, and I would remote in and do work on servers, set up new users while I was driving in between appointments. But I was making that extra hour or 2 hours a day of billable time.
Right.
And it really adds up over time. So, the world has moved into the managed service world, but you just have to have that kind of commitment at the beginning. Just do everything yourself, work hard, build a base of customers, and then you can start, hiring staff and growing things.
Yeah. So you said something else I think is really important. I want you to elaborate on, because I couldn't agree with you more. When you said in times of adversity, you try harder. And,
Absolutely.
right at the very beginning of your practice, when your back's up against the wall, you fought through it and you were successful. So what can you share about that with everybody?
Yeah, I think never letting your customers down. I used to have a big ring of keys with all of my customers' offices. I had a key. I had probably 40 keys on this big ring, and they would call me at 4:00 and say, "We need this and this and this." And I said, "It'll be done by the time you come in tomorrow." And so I would make that commitment. I told my wife, "I'll be home on the weekends, but probably a couple nights a week, I'm going to have to work like this." I never missed a soccer game. I never missed anything with the kids. But during the week, you don't ever want to be seen as a small business. So I basically, when they came in the next morning, everything was done. And my back was against the wall. I had to produce that revenue. And, when you have to do it, you figure out a way to do it. And if you think you can just kind of sit in your office and, plug a few things in and start making money, it just doesn't work that way. It absolutely doesn't work that way. So we all do work better when we have to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Thank you for that. And I think, again, in today's economic environment with all the uncertainty and the lack of confidence, you need to try harder and you need to think outside the box. And together as a community, we're going to fight through this. The blessing for us in the technology industry is there's still really strong demand of our services because a lot of our customers, need to work remote. They need more security. They need more support. They need more bandwidth. They need more tools. And that's what we're here to sell and support, right? So I think it's a great opportunity for us.
Yeah, this is a great opportunity for IT. Through all of this, they're going to look back on this time and they go, you know what, my IT guys took care of me. I was able to work from home. I didn't have to lose any employees. These guys were there for me, and people are going to remember that. And, it makes you shine for them. And, we've set up all of our customers to work remotely. We had licenses for software already, and we got them quickly set up so they could easily go home and work. And, just being there for your customers and they need to look at you as a very integral part of their business, and they can't survive without you. So that's where you always want to be with a customer.
Okay. So let me circle back to something we talked about briefly for just a little bit, but Tim Taylor Consulting, what does a normal engagement look like for you? How are you helping? I know your target audience, you said from 1 million and below, people typically just getting started or are stuck. We see that a lot, right?
Yep.
What does a normal engagement look like? Can you elaborate on that for the listeners?
Yeah, usually somebody that's maybe bought my book or found me online or heard me speak at a conference. I speak at a number of things, along with you, James. And they meet me and they say, and I always talk about my background and how I got started. And all these guys will come up to me afterwards and say, I did the same thing, but I've been stuck for like 2 years. I don't know what to do next. And, I'll say, listen, everybody needs somebody to look at their business, and I'm a coach and I'm very reasonably priced. And so I get together with them, if we can get together in person, great. If not, we talk on Zoom or whatever. And the first thing I say is, all right, give me a list of your customers. I want to know how much you're billing them. Let me see your contract. Normally what I see is someone is not billing enough. They're not charging enough. And their mindset, I always tell them one of your biggest problems, and I care about you, but one of your biggest problems is in between your ears.
Yeah.
Your mindset of I'm small, I'm not worth this much, and that type of thing will kill your business or keep it from growing. The mindset is what I really help people change, because that is what's holding most people back. And and time management. I mean, time management is very important when you work by yourself. It's like, I like to try out this new product. You could spend 20 hours fiddling with a new product. Well, what about your customers? Why aren't you out there trying to get new business? Well, I'm a technician. I can't get new business. That is absolutely not true. It's absolutely not true. In fact, people trust a technician more than they trust a salesman, because you're not going to give them any BS. You're going to tell them the truth. And I work with people to get those skills built up. How do you walk in the door and get the name of the office manager? How do you walk in the door and find out how many computers they have? What kind of marketing do you do to them? How do you eventually get them to take a meeting with you and talk about their IT and what you can do? How do you actually present a managed service contract? To some people, that's a new thing. They don't know how to do it. They do a lot of break fix work and maybe have somebody on some type of retainer. Get people on a contract. It makes you look more professional. And they have contracts for everything else. They have a contract for their copier. They have a contract for their phone system. They have a contract for everything. Why can't they have a contract with you? and have a good contract. I share materials with people that I consult with and just help them get their business on a professional basis, and then help them when it's time to hire new people. And I like working with people maybe that have a couple of employees and they're kind of just capped out. And what can I do next to grow beyond where I'm at? So that's what I specialize in.
All right. Fantastic. Good stuff. Thanks for the wisdom, and agree with everything that you just shared. And for those of you listening in, I will just tell you, I've known Tim, how long have we known each other? About 15 years now?
About 15 years. Yeah.
Yeah. I would just say Tim is one of the best natural salespeople you will ever meet in your entire life. Very influential, great speaker. Tell everybody a little bit. I think you shared with me before that you joined Toastmasters, and I think you won an award there. Why don't you tell everybody about that?
And that's one of the things I recommend that people do. In some cities, there are lots of Toastmasters groups. Sometimes there's big ones. You want to join a big, good group that's got a lot of members, that people that have been in there for a long time and are great public speakers. I mean, they're just fantastic. Some of these guys are retired and they just like to do something. They come in there and give these incredible speeches. And so somebody came to one of the leads groups I was in, and he invited me to come to the Toastmasters group. And I walked in the door and I said, oh my God, why haven't I been here for the last 10 years? I couldn't believe it. And the very first speech I gave, I won speech of the day, and I've won 10 or 11, 12 speaking trophies in there, but it's organized. This is the kind of speech we want you to give, but you get that confidence of getting up in front of people and delivering a good speech. So it's very different. I could get up and talk about technology. A lot of technicians talk to me about, but I can't talk about other things, whatever. This gives you the ability, it's a learned skill on how to do that. Then you can lead groups at like your local chamber. You can do talks, cybersecurity talks, things like that at different groups. And then suddenly you become known as the expert. When someone hears you talk in a group, you become known as the expert immediately. And someone will walk up to you after that and say, I want you to come look at my IT. I want you to come look at this. I want you to come look at that. I've gotten many customers that way. But I really believe in Toastmasters or some public speaking training group. And I don't care what kind of technician you are. I have seen people that come in there and English is their second language, and they win speech contests and their English isn't even very good. It all comes down to passion and delivery, and passion is the most important thing. But anybody can be trained to do this. Absolutely anybody. Yep.
And Toastmasters is an international organization. There should be local chapters for all of you that are listening in. If you haven't heard of it, I think it's just Toastmasters. Is it .com or .org?
Well, I think it's .org, Toastmasters.org. Yeah. Find a group in your area, check them out. You can visit multiple times before you join. The fees are very low, and you just get to hear some incredible speeches. And then like every meeting too, they'll at the beginning, not until you're a member, but they'll point to someone in the audience and they'll say, well, they point to a bunch of people one at a time, and they say, give us a 1-minute speech on this subject. And you got to stand up and do that. And boy, that's hard, but you learn. And the very first time they called on me was the day I joined. And they called me, and I looked at the lady and go, you're kidding, right? And she said, no, you're on. And I'm standing up in front of 50 people, and I had to give an impromptu speech for 1 minute, and I won for tabletop. I beat like 15 or 20 other people that day. And this one guy came up to me afterwards and said, I've been in this group like 25 years, and I can count on one hand the number of people that have won the first time they stood up.
Wow,
but anyway, it's a lot of fun. But if you're not challenged, you're not learning anything. If I know James is a big weightlifter. I mean, if you don't put that pain in your muscles, they're not going to grow. I mean, you've got to have pain. No pain, no gain. So don't be afraid of it. But just getting those speaking opportunities could be very valuable and help you sell.
Yeah, practice makes perfect. And like Tim was saying, any opportunity you can to practice, say yes to any speaking engagement, speaking panel. It's a great way for you to market yourself, be a credible resource, and build an audience. So I think it's not only important just for you and your business of sales, but it's also a key leadership trait. And yes. I think it's important that you do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And even at your own customers, if you have a few large customers, they may ask you to come in and do a training class with their employees about, spoofed emails or phishing emails, what to look out for, all those different kinds of things that all of their employees need to know. They may ask you to come in and give a talk to all their employees. So, depending on how large your customers are. And that's something you can offer to their employees. Say, hey, I'll come in and do a training class once a quarter or something, or once a month, whatever you want. And, you've presenting yourself well goes a long way. And now you have an audience of people from a business, and you can say, look, if your spouse or significant other, whatever, works in another business and struggles, I'm always growing. And, here's my business card. If you want it, give it to your spouse. And, I'd love to go meet their companies. So that's really how you grow.
That's fantastic. Well, thanks for sharing with us today. Before we sign off, let everybody know, how can they get a hold of you? If they want a copy of your book, they have questions for you, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, the book is on Amazon. It's How to Start and Run a Successful IT Company Without Losing Your Shirt is the actual title. And you can also get it on my website, timtaylorconsulting.com. You can get it right from the website there. There also is an Audible version and a Kindle version. So if you just want to download it, when I first put it out there, I was selling a lot of books overseas, but the shipping was really high. And then I came out with a Kindle version. And so now people just download it overseas, so I don't have to ship them the book. But the Audible version is available. I'm getting that re-recorded with a new voice. I recorded it on not some very good equipment, and it didn't sound so good. But I'm getting that redone. But it's up there right now if you want to listen to it. A lot of IT guys tell me they like to listen to this stuff in the car. But listen to it in the car. Listen to it over and over again. And a lot of nuggets are in there of like, oh, yeah, man, when I run into this, that's really going to be valuable. So I've had a lot of people tell me they appreciate the things. And if your business is already going, at the very beginning of the book, it's like, I talk about, should you start your own company, and some very basic things you need to know, and, skim through those chapters, but then you've got to start getting into the meat of how to really provide managed services, how to write a good contract, how to hire people. I try to get into the whole thing. It's a comprehensive book.
All right, great. Thank you for that. And then what's your website again?
It's timtaylorconsulting.com. And you can fill out a form on there if you want me to reach out to you, and I'll personally reach out to you. And I have another gentleman that works with me that helps consult too. He sold his business a few years ago, and he was an MSP, and he does some consulting as well. And he's a professional speaker as well in Toastmasters. He's actually got paid for speeches. So he's excellent, that I have him work with some people as well. So timtaylorconsulting.com.
Super. All right, Tim. Hey, thank you so much for today's time and sharing your background and wisdom with everybody. We're going to go ahead and sign off. Thank you very much.
Thanks, James.
Thank you for tuning in to the SMB Community Podcast. If you found this useful, interesting, or fun, please subscribe, share with your friends, and give us a thumbs up on your favorite social media. Please check out the show notes at smbcommunitypodcast.com and give us your feedback.